The Trump 2024 campaign recently released a dramatic anti-Biden ad using apocalyptic images and footage that, it turns out, actually came from Trump's time in the White House, not Biden's. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. So look, full disclosure, this particular story is not a game changer. It's not seismic, it's not earth-shattering. It is relatively low profile and low scale. But the reason I'm talking about it is because it's hilarious. It made me laugh because it's such a microcosm of who Donald Trump is as a person and what the Trump 2024 campaign is, okay? It's projection, it's hyperbole, it's revisionist history, it's hypocrisy. And so what am I talking about? I'm talking about a Trump campaign ad that was recently released, I think, on Facebook. And we're going to play it here, and I'm probably going to interrupt and discuss along the way because, again, lots of revisionist history, a lot of problems, including a really big one about the content, like the visual imagery of this footage that we're going to dive into at the end. So let's take a look at the Trump 2024 campaign ad.
It's an invasion of America. Streets flooded with poison, killing millions. Enemies and tyrants on opposite sides of the globe laugh at us.
So this is the first one. This is the first problem. Enemies of America and tyrants laugh at us. Trump does nothing but praise those tyrants explicitly, repeatedly, publicly. He has done nothing but give effuse praise and compliments and flattery towards Xi Jinping of China, Vladimir Putin. But now this ad is saying, oh, those people are really bad and we want to, fight back against them. Well, the guy that this campaign ad is about, Donald Trump, kisses their ass. That's what he does. He kisses their asses. So, it seems to be a contradictory message. Let's continue.
Wars threaten us. The threat of nuclear annihilation, once forgotten, is now real again. America's weakness has become their strength. The global elitists who send your kids to war, who tell you a woman is a man and a man is a woman, who teach your children their country, their faith, their beliefs are a lie. They have corrupted every facet of American government, weaponized it against you. While they watch our cities burn and violent crime skyrocket, you and your families pay the price. Out of control inflation, an economy wrecked, a nation in decline.
So the other thing that we'll point out is the economy wrecked. The economy is not wrecked, as we discussed in one of the most recent previous videos and in multiple videos since then. By every objective metric, the Biden administration's economic accomplishments vastly exceed those of the Trump administration's. The Trump administration inherited an excellent economy from President Obama, who had to dig that economy out of the toilet that was left for him by George W. Bush. So a Republican president ruins the economy. A Democratic president has to dig us out, Barack Obama, hands this great economy off to another Republican president, Donald Trump. And then within 4 years, Trump destroyed the economy. Unemployment rate was near 7% by the time he left office, millions of jobs in net loss. The stock market was not doing well. We were seeing inflation start to, or at least the beginning of inflation, due to many of the spending bills that the Trump administration oversaw, including a $2 trillion tax cut for the rich, by the way. And then President Biden in 2 years has got the unemployment rate back down to historic lows, 12 million jobs created. He is reducing inflation, which, by the way, is a global phenomenon. It's not just the United States, and also Trump contributed to it. The stock market has done fairly well for the most part. GDP growth has been very good. So economic metrics, like in terms of accomplishments, when you compare what he was given to where we are now, Joe Biden, like most other Democrats in modern history, have done better with the economy than Republicans. But let's continue.
This is Joe Biden's America. Failing, weak. But one man, one movement can change all that for us. Put America, the middle class, first. And put the globalists, the elitists, and the corrupt in there.
He put the middle class first by his crowning achievement was a $2 trillion tax cut for the rich, 80% of which, the benefits of which, went to the top 1%. That's not fighting for the middle class.
Place. Bring back pride and the American dream. To let the world know, don't mess with us. One man focused on the true owners of this great land. One movement focused on the true priorities. Make America great for us again.
So look, I'll give the devil his due. I think, especially for conservatives, for MAGA supporters and even right-leaning moderates, that would be a very effective ad, right? It's well put together. Obviously, there's little by way of substance to it in terms of truth, but again, it's an advertisement, it's a form of propaganda. Will that motivate Trump supporters? Will that hype them up? I expect it would. But as we discussed, the problem, of course, is the total absence of factual basis. But the other big one, the other big thing about this ad that's hilarious is much of that footage and those images came from when Trump himself was president, not Biden. So the apocalyptic images of, cop cars burning and, riots in the streets and things like that, that occurred when Donald Trump was president of the United States, according to investigative journalism from Forbes. They went back and looked at the footage. They went back and traced the origins of the images themselves. The pictures of the cop cars burning and people brawling in the streets and other cars being vandalized, those occurred in 2020 and in 2021 during the Trump presidency. 2020, not 2021. 2020 during the Trump presidency. George Floyd was murdered by cops on Trump's watch. There were mass protests, most of which were peaceful, but there were some riots, statistically speaking, throughout the country. And that footage came from those riots. Joe Biden was not president. Joe Biden was not responsible for those riots in any way. Joe Biden was not responsible for national security or for anything else. That was all Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the president. He was in charge of national security. He had an obligation to try to address these things, to try to prevent these things, to try to calm the hearts and heads of the nation. He failed. That's not Joe Biden's fault. That is all Donald Trump's fault by Donald Trump's own logic. Now, obviously, the socioeconomic situation that led to the George Floyd protests, all that precedes Trump. I'm not going to put it all on Trump. But if I use the logic of this particular campaign advertisement, it is Trump's fault. So they want to have their cake and eat it too, and they're using borrowed footage from a time that Trump himself was in power. I think that's hilarious. Like, if you're supposed to look at those images and say to yourself, oh my God, anybody who was in charge during all that chaos, they shouldn't be in charge again. Well, then that means that Donald Trump has made an indictment of his own presidency and has undermined his own 2024 campaign. Anyway, just want to share that with you. No big deal. This isn't like end of the world stuff. This isn't like a seismic story. But I thought it was hilarious, and it captures the laziness and dishonesty and hypocrisy of Donald Trump and the Trump campaign.